getting in an aeroplane for the first time. And my foot slipped slightly and dented the canvas, and the instructor pilot called out, "Bloody fool!" So that was my first introduction to getting into an aeroplane.
Up at Catterick, I was doing one of my first solo flights on, I think it was a Morris Farnham Longhorn, after, by the way, less than 1 hour's dual control. Well, I looked out and noticed that one of the wooden struts supporting the top wing was splitting rather badly. So I put her nose down and landed in a field near a village. In the post office, I bought a 6-penny ball of string and 2 ash walking sticks and lashed them to the broken strut, swung the prop, climbed in again and flew home. Looking back now, you know, the only odd thing about that story is that it didn't strike me in the least as odd at the time.
There were lucky escapes for some, but not all.
Practicing sending messages by Morse to a ground crew, busy flying the aeroplane with my left hand and tapping Morse with my right. I got into a spin at about 500 feet and spun straight into the ground. Fortunately, I was pitched out, knocked unconscious. Anyway, I recovered from that, and in about 10 days I was flying again.
Just then, the chief instructor appeared in all his glory, and we forgot everything in our admiration and awe of this hero, who really wasn't very much older than any of us. With a very casual, "Morning, chaps," he left us with the second instructor, a flight sergeant, ran his engine up, waved away the chocks, grinned at us, and took off. He climbed to about 500 feet, did a couple of circuits, and put her nose down to land over the hangar. Well, then something must have happened, because he went into a horrible, uncontrollable dive and hit the ground a little way in front of us and burst into flames, and that was that. And we were told not to go near it. A few minutes later, the flight sergeant called us to attention and said, "Well, gents, that was bad luck. You missed a first-class instructor and a grand man. Now, I'll take over, and we must get a move on. Who'd like to come up with me first?"
RFC training was rudimentary and dangerous in 1915, but there were compensations.
Compared with the poor devils in the infantry, their initials were PBI, poor bloody infantry. Ours was 5-star life. We'd had to live in with a roof and a bed and hot food. And when it rained, we didn't fly. We had a very good time, except the casualties were pretty high. But it was one way of getting quick promotion, because the others got killed.
Young men not in uniform were subjected to all kinds of social pressure to enlist, even soldiers on leave.
I went to the music hall in civilian clothes, I'm on leave, and whilst lined up outside, a lady come along, and about 35, and put a white feather into my hand. I looked at it, felt very disgusted, and there wasn't much I could do about it.
As well as being given white feathers, there was another method of approach. You would see a girl coming towards you with a delightful smile all over her face, and you'd think to yourself, "My word, this is somebody who knows me." When she got to about 5 or 6 paces from you, she would suddenly freeze up and walk past you with a look of utter contempt and scorn. If she could have spat, she would have spat. She just did not do that. And that was far more hurtful than a white feather, because it made you curl up completely, and there was no reply because she walked on.
The actress Faye Compton remembers that in the theatre there were calls for volunteers.
I was playing in a musical comedy at the Shaftesbury Theatre called The Cinema Star, with Cicely Courtness and Jack Halbert and Harry Welshman, a lot of us. And everything stopped, and we were taken on tour with the Cinema Star. And we all used to take turns. Dorothy Ward, Cicely Courtness, and I used to take turns at singing, "For we don't want to lose you, but we think you ought to go," between the